So I don't know if this is working or not, but let's see if something is working. Okay, so maybe this is working. Possibly. Okay. That is interesting. Had to completely change to a different live stream. So let me get situated here. About a week ago, YouTube changed a lot of their stuff in the back end. So our admin section and everything like that looks completely different. And yeah, clearly there's some major differences when it comes time to go live. So my broadcasting software wants to send my stream to a particular event, and that event was not picking up. So the only thing that I was able to pick up on was the go live right now thing. So sorry about that, guys. Hopefully you all make it here to the next stream. But yeah, sorry about that. What can you do, right? So how is everybody? Hopefully you guys are enjoying your weekend. I've been like running around all morning with between meetings, and my plumber Jeremy is here working downstairs this today. I mean, we were hoping to have him come in like Wednesday. That wasn't happening. So Wednesday didn't happen, Thursday didn't happen, Friday didn't happen, and now we're at Saturday. So he and his sons, who are like very young and very adorable, came over. And if you follow me on Instagram, I managed to put up one image of the RO system that he's getting installed here. So if you guys missed it on Instagram, I'll just hold this up to the camera. You guys can see that. Maybe you can. Can you focus? Maybe? Nope. Yeah, there we go. So that was part of the filtration system that's going in. So anyway, you can check that out online, of course. And thank you too, please, getting in real quick on the $1.99s. Always appreciate the super chats. Aaron Alexander as well. Appreciate all you guys coming and hanging out. Then you can still edit the description of the old link. What are we looking at here? The old link. Yeah, I'm gonna have to change that on my website real quick. So let me just go ahead and do that. Is that what you're talking about on my website? I love these technical. See, I love live shows because you have to handle everything like right now in real time. But let me see about doing this if I can. Live sale. God, there's always so much to do. And you try to do as much of it as possible ahead of time, and you end up still not getting it all done. Thanks, YouTube. This one's on you, buddy. Okay. So hopefully that fixed it on my website. So if people are clicking the live sale link on my website, they'll see the correct video, and yes, they do. Excellent. All right. So let's take a look at some of these comments real quick. I'm going to start with the most recent ones and then go back. Ralph Rocard, do you ship to Canada? Unfortunately, we do not. US only. Meaning, so if someone goes to the previous live stream, which is still up, put the top of the description something like, I see what you're saying. Okay. So, okay. Tech Your Talk is also a YouTube creator. What do you think of all of these great changes to the back end of YouTube? Because I thought that the changes were more or less cosmetic in the back, and this is just clown fiesta levels once you try to actually do a live stream, because there's a lot of moving parts to a live stream, and yeah, it can get real squirrely if you don't give me enough control over what broadcast stuff is going on. And their stuff is like, this should be super simple, and it's like, it's not that super simple, YouTube. Really not, especially once you get into like a real broadcasting suite. So thanks guys. Dave Davis, looks like dad was wrong. Missed the context for that, but thank you for the $5. Let's see. Adam, already got a question for you, Than. I have a tiny branching Euphilia, and it's stark white. Is it bleaching? Sounds like it. And what can you do about something like that? So there's a couple of problems that it could be having. So oftentimes a Euphilia, if it's going to be bleaching like that, it could be a pest issue. That's one problem. The other problem is it could be like overexposure to light. And lastly, it could possibly be like a bacterial infection. So there's a couple of different things at work there. The light is probably the most likely. Mr. Cheeseburger, can I live in your greenhouse? You probably could. It's a little humid, it's a little bit loud. Sucks that you can't live stream unless you have 1K subs now. They changed a lot of stuff so that you needed to have at least 1,000 subs. For example, if you wanted to monetize a channel, previously anybody could monetize, but nowadays it's like you have to definitely have 1,000 subs and a certain number of views in a certain amount of time, stuff like that. Iodine, Bayer, Coral RX, what would you suggest over for Euphilia? So any of those will work. We tend to use Coral RX, but we've used the other ones before as well. Iodine is more for the bacterial stuff, I would say, less so for something parasitic, like a flatworm or something like that. Oded Raz, love your show, love your corals. Big shout out from Israel. Thank you very much. Let's see. Ronnie Hughes, what's a beginner acropora? Not really sure there are very many beginner acros, but one that's done very well for us over the years is what we call our forest green acro. They're, again, mostly that forest green color, but they're developing blue tips. And that's done quite well over the years. It's survived a lot of calamities. Tattoo Dancer 91. Is your non-photosynthetic tank with automatic feeder still going on? That video is like 5 years old now. It's not still going on. We took that tank down years and years and years ago. It was not that effective, surprisingly not effective. I think that the quantity that you actually have to feed is way higher than anybody really thinks. Dave Davis, the context was on the other stream. Okay, I don't have that up anymore. So, yeah, sorry about that, Dave. Ah, Gabriel, I saw that video of the giant tank installed in the guy's basement. Getting stuck in the basement gives me anxiety. Glad you got out. That was really dangerous. I don't recommend anybody ever doing anything like that. It's not that fun. And seeing the other camera angles from other people that were there from up top, it was way more dangerous than I thought even, because that tank was pretty much dragging the Jeep down with it that it was attached to. And had there been a lot of slack in the line or something, and I pulled that what do you call it, crowbar out that was stuck in the step, kind of like just holding that tank there, it could have gone very poorly. So yeah, I don't ever want to ever have to deal with that again. Luckily, the aquariums that are going to be coming here, it's going to be a much more straightforward install. There's not going to be any stairs involved. It's pretty much off of the truck, onto a stand, roll the stand into place. Hopefully that's all that I'll have to deal with. No major drama issues or anything like that. I'm just like fingers crossed, nothing go wrong. So Douglas Campbell's wondering, he's got a candy cane that seems really upset. He's tried 3 different places in the tank. It's not dying, but definitely not happy. What can he do? You can try a preventative dip. That sometimes can help. Sometimes, unless you have a way to like really analyze a coral up close. So for us, I do a lot of photography, and sometimes I'm able to see something in photography that's it's really high detail, and I might see something like a pest of some sort or some kind of damage that was causing the issue. So that could be, something that that you can look into. Now, what you might want to try is finding what's called like a dental loop. It's basically, like imagine like a surgeon or something. They've got like these like weird looking glasses, and it allows you to magnify something that's about 12 inches away, and you can like really get up close and see stuff. Now these dental loops you can buy online. I forget the price. It might be like $100 or $2, but that's like a nice tool just to have in your arsenal. It's just to have that going. So that's one thing. Always check stuff for pests. The other thing is it might be underfed. You might want to check on that. And you also might like look at your nitrate levels and stuff, because sometimes you might have some weird chemistry issue going on. Tattoo dancers looking for Suspiciolaria tips. That's a weird coral that we have some success with, and then other times it doesn't do well. I will let you know if we have better success, because I don't think that I have got great answers for you right now. Dan, looking smooth at Aquashella, thanks. I overdress for those occasions. I don't know what they're doing down. I don't know if you can hear anything other than my voice, but the plumber's working on something downstairs. I'm hearing like an impact drill or something. Patrick Schultz, are you going to step-by-step show tank in your new building? Step-by-step a show tank in your new building. I think I will. Now, I haven't, this sounds like really bad, okay? But this is kind of like how far behind I am just in my thought process. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing with these show tanks. I'm thinking about how I'm going to plumb them in. I'm thinking about how I'm going to filter them. I'm thinking about how to, it's basically set up all the equipment associated with the show tank, right? I haven't thought one bit about rocks or sand or aquascape or even like the stocking of them at all. It's like this is the time that I should be super excited about setting up these, a glorious show tank. I haven't had a personal show tank in 20 years, and this is like my kind of like my proof of concept that I know what I'm talking about. Here is a tank that you might actually like to own yourself. I haven't thought about it at all, other than I just want to get it into place on a stand, in place, plumbed correctly. Like, I've got really like low expectations right now. The plumber's here, bring him up. He needs to work. He needs to do a lot of work. Staying out of his way. So if you want to meet the plumber, I'm trying to get him to come to the barbecue. So speaking of, I should probably talk about the barbecue, shouldn't I? So again, it is on July 27th here at Tidal Gardens. You can purchase tickets at tidalgardensbbq.eventbrite.com. It's $25, but I'm already talking to some vendors to contribute to a nice little goodie bag. So my goal is to have this little gift bag be about 10 times more in value than what you actually pay, because I know some of you guys have to get hotel rooms and some of you guys might actually have to get plane tickets. So I definitely want to help ease the burden of that for the travelers out there. And you get to, get some free swag, you get some free product samples. And again, for the people that have to travel, I want to get everything that's in travel sizes so that guys don't get like caught by TSA at the airport or anything. You're going through construction burnout. Yeah, and here's the thing. This project is going to be pretty grand in scale for a really long time yet. This, all getting to this point, was all about just getting the building ready. And the building is almost ready. But once the actual aquarium stuff starts to happen, then I need to obviously get those set up, get those acclimated and cycled, and finally start making money out of this building, short of this live show, of course, broadcasting. But then I haven't even designed the remaining systems that are going to go in the front of the building yet. And then obviously there's going to be a wait to get those tanks in. But I'm okay, because the first 10 aquariums I'm going to get are going to be like a gigantic multiplier to my operation, just with those 10 aquariums. Because every single aquarium is over 10 feet long. They're all going to be made by Reef Savvy. Glass aquariums, 3/4 inch glass, are going to be beautiful. And I just can't wait to just plumb it all together, just get those things up and running. Johan, 10-hour drive. Yeah, you might want to fly. You might want to fly. 10 hours is a long way to travel. Mike Arthur, do you get all the dollars from Super Chats? That's a good question. I think that YouTube might take a cut. Let me Google that real quick. YouTube Super Chat cut. YouTube takes 30%. But I appreciate the $1.99, so that would be like $1.40 or something. But no, seriously, I do appreciate it. Calypso's Reefing, hello. Hashtag Dave's Nanotank. Yeah, I don't know Dave. I met him, I guess, like online of sorts, just through like the different live streams and whatnot. But yeah, I guess he's having some health issues. So if you see like any mention of Dave, that's what that's all about. So hopefully he's doing okay. Adam is wondering, what are your thoughts on biopellets? I'm not a fan of biopellets. I think that that's going to be one of those phases that people got into big time for the past like 5 to 10 years, that kind of got more and more popular. But I think that long term, I don't see it being much of a thing in the hobby, because there's ways to like screw it up royally, like really badly. And I think that the benefits that they provide just simply don't outweigh like the potential problems that might cause. Every single time that I've personally messed with carbon dosing, ultra low nutrient, biopellet anything, things have gone really poorly. So I'm not really in any hurry to try to do that again. So yeah, not a fan. However, there are plenty of people that do biopellets successfully. I just don't think phosphates and nitrates are something that really should be something that you should really be trying to keep at zero or close to zero. In fact, I've had a lot more success with having slightly high nitrate and slightly high phosphate. So let's see. Dakota Harness finally got a live show. Yeah, welcome. Adam, darn, just started running them a few weeks ago. Yeah, and make sure that you don't overdose on biopellets. Biopellets are definitely something that can be overdone, just like GFO. I'm not a huge fan of GFO either. Nitrates are about 20. Phosphates are about 0.1. Mostly trying to bring down nitrates, and water changes aren't cutting it. Nitrates at 20, I guess, is high. We've done well with nitrate levels that were higher than that though. But I mean, I think that if you're chasing numbers, something closer to like 10 or 5 would be a little better. Cindy says, I started biopellets and in 2 weeks my corals looked miserable. I removed them and they were happy again. That's not atypical. Especially it depends on what kind of corals, but I know that the LPS and zoanthids really don't appreciate them. Like SPS I can kind of see, especially if you're looking for a very specific aesthetic and you really know what you're doing. Sometimes those corals can have some success, but I really don't mess with it. Dakota Harness, $1. Thank you, Dakota. What's the best way to deal with dinos, like meaning dinoflagellates? I guess it depends. I think if we're talking about the stuff that happens with new tanks, you basically don't really have to do anything. They just go away on their own one day. I know that it doesn't seem like it. So for all of you guys that have just like started up an aquarium, they all go through this phase where just get this brown, ridiculous growth like all the time, right? And it seems like this insurmountable obstacle. And then one day, like poof, it's all gone. And just like that, it's like out of our mind forever. It's like, oh, no big deal. And you never think about it again. And then you set up another tank and you go through a brown phase. And you're like, oh, what did I do last time to get rid of this? You didn't do anything. It goes away on its own. Now, a dinoflagellate bloom that happens like down the line, like on an established tank, that can get really weird. And I hesitate to give advice on that because it's literally never happened to me. But if it did happen, first of all, I would try to research it as much as you can online. But what my mind gravitates to is there's an underlying chemical issue that needs to be solved, and you can do a few things to advance the ball, so to speak. And I would consider doing stuff like running UV. I would consider upping water change volumes, and I would just start to like try to bring down as much nutrient as I could, and do a lot more with nutrient export, whatever I could. Oh, let's see. Hello, Rossi. Welcome. Calypso's Reef. Welcome. Yes. To please. Thanks for tossing that link out there. Let's see. Karthik Prabhu. What's your opinion in stable alkalinity? Of course, you're asking the one guy that had historically unstable alkalinity, but I would like to shoot for something that's in the regular natural saltwater level range. So if you can keep a rock solid 8 or 9, that's perfect. That John Deere is nice, yeah. So if you guys haven't already noticed, over the past few live shows that we've been doing here. One graphical update that we've incorporated is the changing color temperature. So I tried to show you what a coral would look like under various lighting schemes. I'm not able to capture it perfectly, but you can kind of get an idea of fluorescence as it approaches like the more blue end of the spectrum. And I'm gonna guess most people keep their lighting within some range there. So you just kind of have an idea of what it might be in like. And Diacanthus is handling some of the biopellet questions as well. What's a common error with biopellets? Starting with a quarter is recommended. Yeah, you know, it's whenever you're encouraging like the bacterial populations to do a lot of work, things can happen very quickly. So oftentimes what tends to happen is there's rapid drops in nitrate, rapid drops in phosphate, rapid drops in a whole bunch of other things even. And I think that just that quick change can cause some drastic changes in a reef aquarium. So for example, in my rocks, there was this purple sponge. And I never really noticed it because it's purple and it kind of mixes in with coralline algae. I started to do this one type of carbon dosing. And what immediately happened was that sponge turned like bleach white. Overnight, bleach white. And so I didn't even know that sponge was even there because again, it was just perfectly camouflaged. And like just to have that kind of change happen in one animal. And I started to notice corals changing. And part of me is thinking maybe it's better, but it wasn't better. So during that event, I think within 1 week, I lost 30% of my stuff. And we were doing 150-gallon water changes per day for about a month to try to get stuff back. And in the process, we lost obviously a lot of corals, but we lost a lot of really nice corals, like some Montipora that I think probably sell for $500 a piece, stuff like that. Like it was a bad loss. And in the past, whenever I tried to mess with when I tried to mess with carbon dosing, you know, we tried the vodka thing, we tried some of the more professional products, it always ended poorly. Tropic Marine Pro has a DKH of 7, seems low. I've heard great things though. Never mess with Tropic Marine Pro as a salt. DKH of 7 is actually fine. I mean, we were growing stony corals with a DKH of 3. But ideally, I think that people generally try to keep it a little bit higher than 7. 10 or 11, probably too high, but there's really nothing wrong with 7 if you can keep it there consistently. Dakota 121212, new to reefing, still cycling my first 29-gallon tank. In your experience, what filter medias do you prefer? You actually don't need very much in the way of any filter media. So it kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But if you wanted to keep it very simple, you can run activated carbon. It's pretty innocuous. You can't really overdo it. You can't screw anything up. And within like 6 months, it'll probably completely deplete and you can just refill it very easily. I don't really do any kind of mechanical filtration unless you consider like a protein skimmer mechanical filtration. And I don't mess with GFO or anything like that. So you can have a very, very simple 29-gallon tank. And with a tank that size, water changes go a very long way. So if you just did, instead of having any pieces of equipment like that, if you just went with an additional water change per week, you would basically get all of the benefits without any real investment in equipment or anything like that. Dan J, do you ship to Canada? Unfortunately, no. It's US only. and US excluding Hawaii. Can't ship to Hawaii. Maybe I'll use Tropic Marine Pro and Kalkwasser. Kalkwasser is really good, but make sure to do the methodology correctly. So Kalkwasser is a saturated solution of calcium hydroxide. It's very high pH, but the tanks that I've seen that use it and use it well and correctly, it's like this magic juice. Like the stony corals do very well with calc. The problem is, when you mix up Kalkwasser, it makes this like cloudy, milky solution, and you're supposed to wait until that cloudy stuff all precipitates to the bottom, and you're ending up with like this clear layer and then all the silt at the bottom. What you want to do is slowly drip that clear layer into your tank, preferably in an area of very, very, very strong agitated flow, so that it gets spread out immediately. And sometimes what you can do is use that as an auto top, well, not an auto top off, but a top off instead of just regular water. You can use Kalkwasser, so you can slowly boost your calcium, alkalinity, pH all at once with it. The problem is, sometimes people get impatient, they do it wrong, something happens where that cloudy stuff gets stirred up and then gets put into your tank. That's not good. And also dripping it in too fast is not good. If you drip it in too fast, what you'll start to see is like your water will start to get kind of cloudy and get precipitaty. And worse than that, everything in your tank is actually suffering from a chemical burn right now. So I have personally gotten impatient or done something dumb with calc and screwed it up. But as long as your methodology is correct and you don't mess it up like I have in the past, calc is wonderful. Care with using your ATO and Kalkwasser is very hard on pumps. True. Plus the input will change on the day to day with evaporation rates. Yeah, so like the best implementation I've seen is just to have like basically a bucket with a little drip line, and you slowly change just change the drip rate. I keep it ultra simple. The problem with using a pump or anything like that is all that white chalky stuff latches onto everything in your pump, and you can expect that pump to be dead really quickly. Intro to reefing. Are 2 small water changes a week better than 1 big water change a week? Yes and no. One thing that's nice is that you're doing a gentler change on your tank, right? So smaller water change, less chaos, right? Big water changes, kind of big chaos. The problem, not a problem, the benefit of doing a big water change is if you see something that you're not liking and you want to just dilute a ton of your water. So for example, let's say you have flatworms in your tank, maybe just like the harmless rust-colored ones that are stuck on your glass. And you would just want to bomb your tank with some, let's say, either levamisol if you're like hardcore, or like flatworm exit, something a little bit more gentle. And all of a sudden, your tank is raining dead flatworms. They're exploding and releasing all their toxins. And that stuff that you put in your tank, that is also toxic, and that will get your animal sick. And you're supposed to get all of that stuff out of your tank in like now. So that is when you want to just do like a giant water change, and then obviously run carbon. So yeah, they kind of serve 2 different purposes. It is really nice to be able to just evacuate a ton of water and just replenish it all. But if you're just talking like day-to-day smooth running of a tank, the smaller water changes might be a little bit more gentle in your aquarium. Or if you want to get really fancy, you can do a continuous water change system using different dosing pumps. So you are removing a gallon or so per day, and you're putting back in a gallon over the course of like 24 hours. That's also a possibility. So yeah, Adam, the drip method of calc is probably the best way to do it, unless you're going to be using some sort of dosing pump, like a. I say I can't pronounce it, but I always say peristaltic pump. I guess that's incorrect. Peristaltic pump. You know, those spinny things, which I guess all pumps are. Dakota Harness, do you guys by chance sell beginner coral packages? I'd love to buy a package, but don't want to kill any coral that needs more than I have at the moment. Not necessarily a beginner coral package, but I can pretty much say that the vast majority of corals in this hobby are middle of the road or easy to take care of. Some corals are like a lot easier to take care of, but the vast grouping of corals is all in this middle ground where they're not really that much different in terms of difficulty, and they're not different in terms of care. Like even for example, let's say a hammer coral might be towards like the slightly more difficult end of the spectrum. Barely. Like I still think they're middle of the pack, but let's say that they're a hint more challenging than, say, green star polyps. The difference in care between those two corals is nothing. The same sort of stuff that you would do for green star polyps, you could do for hammers. The only real difference is kind of like the devil's in the details. Like the refinement of how good you are at the hobby will matter. So one coral might be a little bit more tolerant of neglect. You might miss a couple things and it'll still hang in there, where something like maybe a goniopora or an alveopora might struggle. But largely the care requirements for those corals are the same if you just stick to the plan. There are some really challenging corals out there, and we usually don't have them. And we wouldn't just include something like that in a pack. So I will tell a story that sometimes you run into this at the wholesale level. There are corals that should never have been harvested. And like things like heliofungia, for example, has like a very, very bad reputation for survival. And oftentimes you would place an order with a wholesaler, and they wouldn't have everything on your list. So they'll just fill the rest of your order with like heliofungia. Like, there you go. That does not happen at the retail level. It's not that if you ordered a pack from us, you're not going to get like non-photosynthetic stuff. You're not going to get crazy stuff. You're probably not going to get acropora unless it's something you're looking for. I'm probably very behind on chat, so I apologize. Checking out the great selection of corals. Thank you. Skookumchuk Reefer. Hello, Drama D. Hey, K-Town Reefer. Welcome. I don't understand calc stirrers. Aren't you supposed to let it settle? Calc stirrer is not really a thing, I don't think, anymore. And yes, you are supposed to let it settle. Sam P, hello. I did say hi to Drama D, right? If I didn't, hey Drama D. Mike Bryce, let's see. Considered using a calc reactor as you would use it as a calcium reactor, very slow drip rate but constant. Why hasn't anyone tried it? So a calcium reactor is violently moving that water through. You would have a huge milkshake on your hand if you used it as a calc reactor. That wouldn't be a great implementation of that. Vincent James, my DKH is close to 11.5. So I'm planning on getting a water purification system to help out my corals. Is an RO system okay, or does it have to be RODI? Not sure the difference. So an RO system is fine. You don't actually need a DI unless you really want a DI. It's just that last little bit of polishing to get it essentially to zero. I don't use DI, and not because it's not good, it's just because it expends pretty quickly. Maybe it doesn't expend quickly, but it expends, and we just don't really feel like maintaining something like that. And regular old RO can bring, so we have like a commercial RO system. A commercial RO system, and maybe a regular home one can do this too, but it takes my TDS coming out of my well from 900 something, almost 1,000, down to about like 6. And so the DI portion after that would take that 6 down to 0. I don't care about that. So you don't need an RODI, and I'm going to guess that your TDS is not higher than mine at 1,000. So yeah, regular old RO is fine. Dakota Hearts, again, thank you for the $1. And YouTube getting their 30% cut. So thanks for the 70 cents. I appreciate it. Decanthus Reef has a better answer for the calc stirrer than I never got that. I never got that complicated with it. I literally used a bucket. Bruno Setti, when is the new facility going to be ready? Hopefully by the end of this month, I will have the first group of tanks here at the site. We'll see. I mean, we're going to go get them. I just hope that nothing goes wrong in our going and getting them. I was supposed to say Mazel. Where were you hiding that Ultrafavia that was there last week? I don't even know. Stay hydrated, Dan. I definitely have drank my fair share of water. Probably have to take a bathroom break soon. Adam, anyone else in New York City using an RDI system? My sediment filter clogs crazy fast here. That is an interesting observation, Adam, for the simple fact that I had heard that New York City has insanely good water, like TDS of 0 water. So I don't know if anybody else is in New York City, like Manhattan, or any of the other boroughs, actually, let me know what your TDS is. I've heard that it's ridiculously outstanding. Hugo Thorson, are you sending to Europe? No, sorry, US only. Dan J, do you have a preference for substrate? Not really. We have tanks with substrate. We have tanks that are bare bottom. I actually don't have a preference. I think that for some fish, the substrate is better. Like they like to burrow into it and stuff. Dave Davis, in case of DI, doesn't it make sense with municipal water supplies which add additional chemicals? I don't know, because a lot of that, okay, so chlorine is not good for membranes. You really should have the water dechlorinated before it hits your RO membrane. So in that sense, I would think that a lot of that municipal water supply stuff should have been handled before it even got to your RO. So the DI on the back end of that isn't quite so important. Now I have to up my chat 30%. Now you're good, 2 please. You're good. It'd throw off the math, like 2 please, and it'd be like 260. Like what? It doesn't make any sense. Let's get Dan drunk. You know, so Dwight, a person that was just here for like my like 11 o'clock meeting, he brought me a 6 pack of Michigan beers. So there are beers like just down the hall. Dave Davis, do you carry the confused rainbow Montipora regularly? We do, but the coloration of that particular Montipora, it changes pretty drastically. And so now that we've gone from like winter to spring, it's like hitting a light switch on that coral. So all of a sudden it went from what looks like a Superman Montipora to a rainbow Montipora, like almost overnight. Let's see. Matt Mazel, who does your tank builds? I'm looking for a custom 300-gallon tank. So Reef Savvy is doing mine, but Reef Savvy, it's not for everybody. It's very expensive and the lead time is very long. So he might be 12 months out. There's a bunch of different custom glass manufacturers, if you're looking for glass, I'm assuming, that are pretty good. So place in Canada, I'm drawing a blank. I have one of their tanks. I want to say quality, but that's not it. Old age, I swear. But like, I think customaquariums.com, they do some good work, supposedly. I haven't personally seen their stuff, but they work with a lot of different YouTubers, and everyone seems to be happy with their work. Coast to Coast is another premium brand. I think they're in New Jersey. There's a few places down in Florida that are good. The place in Texas, Planet Aquarium is good. I've seen their stuff. Four-star Productions. What's the best light color temp to grow corals? Love the show. Oh, thank you. I don't think there is such a thing as the best color. You're gonna get different opinions on that. I tend to like stuff that's more towards daylight-ish, so little past 10,000 Kelvin. But not everyone's like that. Some people swear that like the all blue light is the thing that gets all the color, and I'm like, that has not been my experience at all. Let's see. Do you suggest keeping an anemone in a mixed reef? Can if you want. The only issue with an anemone is that they can do some traveling around your tank, and they might be stinging stuff you don't want them to sting. You have to kind of move stuff out of their way. Long Island is around 200 TDS. Diacanthus Reef says 400 plus. 60 in Virginia. My RO is, so Masha is saying that my RO is 19 TDS and I have to use DI. Huh. So when I was living with my parents like 20 years ago, when I had a reef aquarium at their house, and I never used an RO system, and that TDS was 250, and it was fine. So a lot of what TDS is matters as to what is causing the reading. So you know that if you run water through a softener, it doesn't really change the TDS much. If anything, it might increase it, because you're basically swapping a lot of like the minerally type stuff with sodium. So like the calcium and magnesium and stuff that's in the water gets swapped out for sodium. And the reason why that's good is that the sodium is much easier on RO membranes. So that's why a lot of times, for at least in commercial setups, you want to soften the water before it hits the RO system. And it's because it's better for the membranes. Now, that water, like in both cases, could be a TDS of 600. It could be 600 of magnesium and calcium, which is very bad for your membrane, or it can be 600 of sodium, which is nothing for your membrane. So sometimes, like, yeah, it's you get a bad TDS reading. Let's say of like at my parents' place, 250, but in practice it wasn't that bad. Like it just didn't matter. Now theoretically, it could be really bad. It could be like cyanide, and at that point, you probably didn't make it. Jed Davis, are you still thinking about the t-shirt contest? I still am thinking about that. There's so much, Jed, on the design stuff that I want to do. Like, we need to get prints up for Teespring. We need to get more shirts. We need to get more everything, because we've unlocked like all these different products that we can do. We can do like all over hoodies and stuff. And it's just, we haven't had the time just to sit down and make designs, or even make a contest for the designs. So yes, it's still there. It's still very much on the back burner, but yes. Entity 303. Hey Than, how often should I do water changes for a tank that's really struggling with parameters? If I got worried about parameters, I would start thinking about doing water changes probably 3 times a week. Not huge ones, but I would do them. Linton Francois, Brooklyn TDS is low, but sediment filter is clogged. That stinks. Ellery Wong is wondering, do you find that Monteporter require any specific trace elements like iodine or strontium? No, I don't, but that's purely out of ignorance. So we don't test for iodine, we don't test for strontium. It seems like for us, there's just much bigger things at play, like drastic changes in lighting and things like that make a much bigger difference. Now, when you're talking about trace elements, you do realize that that is like less, like all the trace elements put together is less than 1% of salt water. So like changes in trace element values, it'll be really subtle. It's probably very difficult to test, honestly. And most people don't test for it. So dosing strontium, dosing iodine, I'd say most people are doing it very irresponsibly. Shots fired at Jason Fox. I don't know the context of that. Was it about the lighting? Because a bunch of people say like the blue light, but like 5 years ago, nobody said the blue light. Everybody said like the 10K stuff. For us, so most of my stuff over at the greenhouse, I grow under obviously a little bit of sunlight, but a lot of Blue Plus, ATI Blue Plus, which is like very blue, like very, very blue, like almost an unattractive blue, and Coral Plus, which brings it a little bit closer to daylight, kinda. So under that combination, I get ridiculously good color. 15 TDS here, Rossi. Should I even bother with RODI? I probably wouldn't. Then again, you know, it's like if you were worried about it, RO systems are relatively inexpensive, and if we're talking about like $100 for peace of mind, I'd pay $100 for peace of mind, right? But then again, 19 TDS isn't something that I would like rack my brain over. Bruno Setti, what are the books you would recommend about corals? Okay, so all the books that I could recommend to you are super old, 20 years old, okay? Aquarium Corals by Bornemann is pretty good. Now, I would also recommend Corals of the World by J.E.N. Viren, Charlie Viren. The problem is he doesn't recommend his books because he says that they're out of date. I think he has a website that's free. So that kind of gets me into my other point. You can probably get most stuff these days for free. You can go to tidalgardens.com, in fact, and we do actually do a lot of profiles on a lot of corals, both video and written. So there's a lot more resources available, and I don't think that there's a lot of books coming out that really really compete with the internet these days. That's just me, though. I don't read. What are these books you're talking about? Vincent James, Than, you mentioned that chlorine is bad for the RO membrane. How would you work a dechlorinator into your system before the RO membrane? Is it just an extra filter in the RO system? Yeah, so the way that you remove chlorine is carbon, activated carbon. So for example, in my building here, because my source water is from a rainwater collection cistern, that cistern is full of bacteria. That's how that works. So you can't have that bacteria water go straight to your RO system. The bacteria will wreck that membrane. So I have to chlorinate my water, something that your municipality does. I have to do it myself. I have to chlorinate the water into a like 120 something gallon contact chamber. Then that water has to get dechlorinated in like a 5 foot tall carbon thing before it can go into my RO system. So what it would look like on your system would probably be a carbon filter, probably a modestly sized one. But if you wanted to get serious about it, you can get one with like back flushes and stuff. But long story short, it is activated carbon. Bob is asking, are the polyps on most of your acropora out during the day as much as night? I'm not around my tank at night. Generally, what I've noticed that most things at night are going to be more extended, but we don't typically have problems with polyp extension even during the day. Matthias Castro, best tabling acros available in Tidal Gardens. We've got some really cool red ones. I think that we just call them red tabling acros, but they're really nice. All right, I drank too much water. I'll be right back. Potty break. So I tried to go get myself a beer, but that was fruitless because I think all of those they require a... Okay, so as I got up and left, I got an error message on my broadcasting software. So is it still working, I wonder? Just checking. Are we still alive? Hopefully it's still alive. Yeah, so yeah, I was saying don't have a can opener at this building. So can't have a beer with you guys. Okay, good. Yeah, I was like looking at this thing and it just said YouTube error on my broadcasting software. I'm like, that can't be good. Yeah, or you could just troll me and just not type anything. Be like, uh-oh. So, you know, I've been doing these live streams now for about 4 years. I have seen everything, I think, that could go wrong with them. So I don't even stress out about them. We had a technical difficulty just getting this stream up and running because of how goofy YouTube can be, just with changing how they do stuff. So whatever, I just roll with it. Did I miss Lisa, the hype chick? Yeah, somebody was saying, put my like in there. Lisa hype chick, Zane was saying. Okay. Anyway, I should probably, because I saw Dave Davis in chat. He is one of the select group of patrons on Patreon. So real quick, thank you to Ernest Wallace Jr., Mark Nadier, The Classroom Reef, Chuck Admire, Jean A. Van Voorst, Flashkin, Jeremy Altman, Rico's Aquariums, Two Please, Christopher Curry, Alan Jackson, Trevor Overbeck, Kevin Cortez, Steve Pond, Ryan Kern, Nate Bowler, and Dave Davis. Thank you guys. Patreon.com/Tidal Gardens if you want to become a patron. And I'm going to be reworking Patreon just a little bit. I had a conversation with an artist at Aquashella, and she said that she gave me some ideas to help out the artist community through Patreon that want to use like our photography for it's not a, what's the word I'm looking for? Reference photos for when they do paintings and drawings and stuff, because they need permission from the photographer to allow them to do those reproductions. And so, you know, they a lot of times artists do this thing through Patreon. And so I was like, yeah, I want to see about that. So just in general, I want to rework a lot of the Patreon stuff. And you probably noticed that I started to do more with like, you know, putting like the names of the patrons on the end of videos and stuff like that. Use your key to open up beers. I don't think I have my keys here, but I have a spoon. Do you think I could do it with a spoon? I could try it with a spoon. What is the camera? They record those coral videos in the background. The camera we use is a Canon C200, which is actually the camera that's pointed at my face right now. It's a pretty serious business Canon cinema camera. Jacob Griffiths, why do you do no pics on the live sale webpage? Because of the labor involved in doing it. So if we were to have to do that, literally every coral in here would be $10 more expensive. So it's saving you guys a lot of money just by having that. Because that would mean every single live sale, we would have to shoot every single photo and do that upload process and spend the hours it takes to do like the hundreds and hundreds of corals. So yeah, it's a cost savings thing that we pass on to you guys. And yes, Two Please is Jeremy Altman. That's why I separated out Two Please. I was like, maybe he wants to be more incognito than that. So I just said the two names separately, just in case like you had a thing about your privacy. And I appreciate the $1.99, by the way. What kind of light / flow does Samacora like? I would say medium to high light. We've kept them in other types of light, like really low light. They don't like that quite as much. And as far as flow goes, I would say also medium to high once again. Dave Davis, stock images, I think. Lisa Latry, yeah. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but yeah, she and I had like a nice long talk. Um, she has a very successful Patreon campaign associated with her YouTube channel, which is also very successful. Yeah, I mean, I was blown away. Like that, I would have to say that like she's in my top 5 great conversations that I had at Aquashella, because it's always good to talk. I mean, there were people there with like bigger YouTube followings, but you know, talking with her, she had like such business savvy, and was doing so many like interesting things with how she was monetizing her YouTube channel, and also how to collaborate with other YouTubers. So yeah, we talked a lot. Gmex 86. Hello everyone from Italy. Hello. Kyle Hope, yeah, you can use a spoon. Use a lighter. Who has a lighter? Like I don't smoke. Let's see. Zane, how do I purchase? Good question. You can go to tidalgardens.com, and once you're there, you find the live sale link right at the top, and that will take you to the live sale page, where you will see hopefully this video embedded there, as well as all of these corals that are numbered. So if you are, for example, wanting item number 113, this 113, that's this golden Leptoceras, you will just find that number item and just toss it into your shopping cart, just like any regular item, any regular coral that's on the website, and just check out with it. My local Petco is getting a gem tank. Should I buy it? That would get me freaked out. Well, I mean, like expensive fish in general freak me out, because I need to bring on a guest that does like fish for a living. That is like a really so I have somebody in mind, obviously, but I'm not fish guy, and I shop for fish less than you guys shop for fish, and because I shop from a wholesaler, you get a mixed bag of success. Like it could be bad, it could be real bad. So I would even like to know better how to do things. Um, yeah, I really should have like a fish expert come on and talk with us. In fact, so the person I'm thinking about is Laura over in the UK. She owns Eco Marines, and a big part of her business at one time, anyways, was like really high-end fish quarantining processes. And so she probably has like a ton of information. Also, locally here, the owner of Triton Marine, his name's Joel. He's also like serious business when it comes to bringing in fish and acclimating them and quarantining them. So like in his store, he has like individual tanks, each with its own filtration, like completely separate from one another, that he quarantines all his fish in. So like I'd love to bring one or both of them on to talk about that type of thing. Let's see, what did I miss out on? Two Please is dropping all kinds of super chats. Like I've like lost track of how many he's put in, but thank you. Dwight Kirby, always good to network. I agree. A lot of times it doesn't go anywhere, but in the few times that it does go somewhere, it's usually pretty good. How long do you recommend having a tank set up before you can start adding more difficult SPS corals? So if you want to be ultra conservative, 12 months. Most people don't wait that long. Rico started pretty quickly with his, for example, like maybe like 1 or 2 months. I would probably be a little bit slower, but then again, you're probably going to see SPS corals in my tank sooner than that. Pedro Brasil, any rainbow chalice? No, we don't actually have any. We need to get some. Adam, my chalice has been receding. Any thoughts? I mean, it's kind of a similar thought process to the rest of it. So again, less likely to be pests when it comes to chalices. Although there are like some like weird like bugs, like these white bugs that can eat stony corals like that. Obviously, it could be like a chemical thing, mainly high nitrate. Could have gotten stung by something. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, like Deacanthus Reef said, yeah, nutrients is oftentimes the problem when it comes to chalices. And don't pressure Deacanthus Reef into making videos. Like, making videos is a commitment, let me tell you. All right, I am going to make an attempt using a spoon to open up a beer bottle. One sec. So I gotta share this with you guys. I just happened to grab the first one out of the 6-pack. Okay, and let's see if I can get it on screen. Can you guys read that? It's the Hemper. It's hops and hemp. It's an HPA, New Belgium. So these are all Michigan brewing companies. I lied. Brewed and bottled by New Belgium Brewing, Fort Collins, Colorado, and Asheville, North Carolina. Well, the Asheville definitely makes sense. And I guess the Fort Collins does too. The Hemper is a new kind of hoppy beer, blending hemp with hops for complete sensory domination. All right, maybe this is a bad idea. Who knows? Maybe I can't get this cap off. Okay, what did I miss as far as chat? Dave Davis. Stan, is your lighting tweaks or the change in season? Some of the corals seem to have different coloration this show. It's very likely change in season. As soon as springtime rolls around, a lot of stuff changes. Not everything for the better. I think the only thing off the top of my head that really looks better from winter to now is like the confused rainbow Montes. Oh, this is gonna be a disaster. I don't know what I'm doing. This spoon is like made of not really metal or something. It's bending like crazy. Bet it's gonna have a weird taste, like skunky most likely. I wanna watch you open this. Yeah, me too. This is a disaster. I don't even care if it spills all over me. I just don't want it to, like, you know, just rip my fingers apart against all this. Are you serious? Yeah, look, chat's gone silent. Oh, that was insanely easy. Anyway, I'll let you know how it is. It tastes like an IPA. All that, and it just tastes like an IPA. Pedro, Brazil. How's the new warehouse building coming? Pretty good. My fingers are bleeding now. That's great. Kyle Hope, why is magnesium considered to be a meager element in a reef? It's not. I have to dose 3 times as much iron. Very strange. And 4 times as much potassium. Hopefully, Kyle, you're actually testing for those 2 parameters. Because especially iron, that's a weird one to even attempt to dose. Potassium is a little bit more understandable, but even potassium is weird because, so for those out there that don't know, and you can even watch my video on potassium, potassium is not a trace element. It's right up there with some of your major elements like calcium, excuse me, and magnesium. There's a lot of it in the water, but potassium is not very bioavailable. So having a lot of it in the water doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. It's not the same thing as some of these other ones. So yeah, kind of weird. Kind of a weird question. Do I put the thing under the cap and then, oh, you got it. Yeah, finally got it. Use a spoon as a lever. And it's not a twist top because I tried to untwist all of them and that didn't go well either. Nice behaved THC. There's no THC in hemp. That's a great beer. I love New Belgium. That's pretty good. I mean, IPAs aren't really my thing. I like stouts and porters and stuff. Test every week. Okay. Yeah, iron. I've never even so Kyle, you are the first person that's ever tried to test for and dose iron that I've talked to. Dan, how can you remove plastic plugs from frags safely, or should we just let them overgrow, cover the plastic? Not a fan of the plastics. So Daniel, we don't use plastic. And I don't know anybody who else that does use it. Like, you could snap it off. What you really don't want to do is to remove the coral from what it's stuck to. So just like you cause a lot more problems trying to remove the coral and then re-glue that coral down to something else. You're way better off just gluing that plug thing down to whatever you like and just kind of like dealing with the shape issue. Like if you're just talking about like just snipping the peg off of it, that's one thing, but trying to remove the coral off of it, I don't recommend that. Like bad stuff could happen. Technically, Dwight, it's not weed beer, is it? I think industrial hemp is its own thing. And thanks, Dave Davis. Cheers, $5. Chillaxing is here. What's up, Chillaxing? Diacanthus is another one that doses iron. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll be perfectly honest. I've never once paid attention to the iron levels in any of my tanks in 30 years. Oh man. So one thing that I noticed when talking to folks at Aquashella, like occasionally I would run into a person that would say like, you know, I can't wait until you post another video. It's been so long. And I'm thinking it hasn't been so long. In fact, this past month is like the most I've output regularly in a really long time. And so I asked the guys, like, did you see this video? Such and such video. I think maybe like the Acropora video. Did you see the one I did on Rico's tank? Did you see the one I did on Nathan's tank? And they're like, no. So I'm like, okay, check your notifications. And that goes for everybody that's watching now. Double check your notifications. I mean, I get it. You guys are here. Obviously, you probably got something. But I mean, a lot of people, not a lot, but a few people that I talked to legitimately hadn't seen one of my videos in 6 months because they just weren't notified through YouTube that I was uploading regular content the whole time. So they're like, oh my gosh. And so one guy even commented on one of the recent videos, like, this is the video that I missed out on, like that we were talking about just yesterday in person. What is the best way to separate a GSP that's grown across 2 rocks? So Dan, GSP is really easy to peel off of rocks. It doesn't, it's not like a stony coral that like really has fused to that rock or anything like that. Once you get it cut or something like that, you can just peel up one edge and you can basically with your finger just peel it right off the rock. Matt Mazel, Tidal Gardens is about 80% of the coral in my tank. See, that's 20% left to go. We can do this. I've heard iron dosing is great for chaeto growth. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I'm behind the times when it comes to chaeto and refugiums and stuff like that. So, but we're a very different operation than most home aquariums. Because our problem is that whenever we do refugium-like activity, we invite mega pests to grow where there's no predation, and oftentimes that's going to be the refugium. Like that's the whole point of a refugium, is that it does not have predation, right? So this is the last coral officially, 140. This little scolie here. Now. We can go into a little bit of overtime. How about this? We'll go into overtime until I finish my beer. How's that? Because we had a little bit of a technical difficulty earlier today, so we get some bonus time for that too. And then I have to find something to eat because it's like probably didn't eat enough, and I'm drinking beer now. By the way, thank you very much, Ken. If you watch this live sale, like basically. An hour before the show, Ken had come down from Michigan and brought me all this beer. So thank you, Ken. Dave, some of us don't rely on YouTube and just check your channel regularly. Just saying. Yeah, and another thing that we should be doing on our end is to send out an email reminder. Just like, don't even leave it up to YouTube. Like we have like, I think almost like 2,000 people on our mailing list, and we legit have not sent them a single email since moving our website over. Not one email onto a mailing list of 2,000 people. Now I get it. Nobody really likes to get emails, but I'm thinking about, kind of getting back on that because YouTube has let me down a couple of times. As early as today, so I don't even want to leave it up to them. So I need to take care of this myself. Get some adult supervision going on here. Get your Tidal Gardens BBQ tickets. Thank you too, please. Appreciate it. If you guys don't have anything better to do, end of July, come see me. Come see us. Meet everybody else in chat that's coming. Meet Rico if you like him. I have to throw that disclaimer in there. So I did that video of Rico's aquarium, and it got like 40 dislikes, and I didn't even have Rico in the video. I didn't have him say anything. It was just his aquarium, and people were like, Don't like that guy. Okay, Can. No Than overtime. More. I just got here. Oh, you got some time left. You got some time left. Kent Marine Essentials contains iron. Meldium. Nice. You know who I talked to the other day? I actually was on the phone with Jack Kent. He's not with Kent Marine anymore, but he is the Brightwell. He owns Brightwell now. But yeah, I hadn't talked to him before, and I've never met him in person. But yeah, kind of random. Muslim Chinese lamb kebabs. That does sound good, but I'm not as big of a fan of lamb as other folks are. Like it's like the slight gaminess kind of throws me off. But that does sound really good. The seasoning sounds good. Like if that was chicken, I think it'd be better. Never strawberry shortcake. I think it's a different thing. Like I think strawberry shortcake is different than the raspberry stuff. Like I actually think those are two completely different corals. That's why we're not trying to be edgy, you know. I think those are two different things. Matt Mazel suggests checking out Austin Lefevre's MACNA 27 presentation. Austin's a really good guy. I have known him since he was probably like 16 working at Tropicorium in Michigan. Like that's where I first met him, and it's amazing like how far he's come in the industry since then. Zakeel Gordon, I feel scared sending an email as a business. You don't want to come off as spammy. No, I don't. And I want to be like extra cautious that everybody on the mailing list actually wants to be on the mailing list. Like I think ours is already like double opt-in. So you kind of had to try to work to get onto our mailing list. I think you needed to have created an account on Tidal Gardens and everything. Yeah, the last thing I want to do is send people email that don't want to get the email because we pay for people. You know, like if you have like an email list of 5,000 versus an email list of 1,000, it costs more to send all those emails out. So the last thing I want to do is spend more money to annoy people. Adam says, Rico's a polarizing dude. True. He talks a lot of random crap. True. Yeah, like, guys, you all should go to a show. Doesn't have to be Aquashala. You can check out. So, like right now, what's going on? Orlando, Reefapalooza, right? Go to Reefapalooza, go to a MACNA, and meet all these people, because you're gonna find out that not everybody is for everybody, and especially after meeting them in person. Like you might like somebody online and you meet them in person, it's like, yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Like don't meet like your idols, right? Just don't. So, but it is good though. And I will give Rico credit in this way. What you see online is exactly what you see in person. I can't even say that about myself because like even on this show, I'm drinking right now, but I come across pretty corporate-y. I'm pretty straight-laced. I'm less so in person. Some people are straight up completely different human beings than their YouTube channel. They're like, you know, they're excited and upbeat on their YouTube channel. In person, they're just a jerk. Like, I'm not going to name names, but I'm just going to say they exist. So, in defense of Rico, he is kind of like polarizing and everything like that, but he's the real deal in that sense. Like there's no surprises when it comes to him. He struck me as a climate change denier in a recent live stream. That would be a weird perspective for him to have. Let's see. Still working on PLC automation for my reef tank. That's cool. Man, your acros are out of this world. Thank you. It wasn't always this way. For a long time, we struggled keeping acros, but these days they look outstanding. I mean, one time we even had like a little bit of a bug issue with them, and it was so difficult for me to figure that out because they were so brightly colored. They weren't showing any, I mean, like no signs of any issues. Their color wasn't bad. They had no patches or anything like that. It was just like everything was like smooth sailing. And I just randomly started dipping stuff and said, oh, that's weird. I should get rid of all that stuff. And I just started dipping and dipping and dipping like all of my stuff after that. But I mean, you would never have noticed. Dan, are you excited about the Browns this year? Chillaxing, I am. And to say that I'm a fair weather Browns fan is not true. I'm not a Browns fan at all. In fact, I got a lot of my pleasure for the past decade from watching the Browns suffer and struggle. Like, they're such a dysfunctional franchise. And so I kind of have this thing about the Browns where this is very clearly like a Browns town. Like Northeast Ohio is all Browns all the time. So while the Cavaliers are winning NBA championships, the Browns are going winless. And anybody talks about are the Browns. Like, that is so stupid. So, like people get what they ask for. You want the Browns, you got the Browns, right? But lately, they've been just hitting on all cylinders. So I'm like super excited to see the Browns play. I'm not going to be like rah-rah as always a fan. I definitely wasn't. But I'm absolutely. I want to see what Odell Beckham Jr. does. I want to see what Johnny Manziel. I want to see what Baker Mayfield looks like in his second year. I'm all into that. I think it's going to be a good season. No shows in South Africa. Hey, might want to start your own. Let's see. Mostly Reefs. People say what they want about Rico, but have you seen his tanks? Yeah. So it's fun. Like he and I, obviously, we talk off camera a lot. And, like unfiltered Than and unfiltered Rico, we probably have some animated discussions, right? But, when it really comes down to it, he has very, very nice tanks. He's a little bit more competitive about the hobby than I am, but I mean, it's actually kind of funny. The whole like competitive nature of an aquarium, like, because they like competitions exist, at least on the freshwater side. There's like aquascaping competitions and stuff. So I guess it's not completely out of the realm of what's out there. But I always thought it was so weird. Like, that's like competitive lawn keeping between like you and your neighbors. It's like, who cares? My neighbors had just better be happy that I mow my lawn before the cops come and tell me to mow my lawn. I mean, it's that sort of thing with me. Like, I just don't care. But yeah, I mean, I can kind of see how people can get competitive, and kind of get crazy about their lawn and their aquariums. Business card, yeah. Well, okay, so the business card thing isn't. It's a slightly different thing. So I think that if you want to like showcase like your skill at keeping a reef tank, that's cool and everything. The competitive nature around that, again, I don't really care. But if you're going to be peddling advice online, it's good to come with the receipts, right? So that's the beauty of today's age, where almost everybody is expected to have some sort of social media presence, even around their aquariums, especially if they have a voice about it. So you can check very easily who is out there talking, because if some guy, so imagine somebody that is like this big over the top personality that's telling everybody that they're doing it wrong, okay, and they're completely unwilling to show you a picture of their tank. What do you think of that person, right? But nowadays, because it is kind of expected for you to show your work, um, you've kind of gotten away from a lot of the kind of the snake oil salesman types, or like the wannabe, keyboard warrior type experts, because you got to come with the receipts. You got to have the business card that says that you've demonstrated success in the hobby. And honestly, I haven't even done it in the same way. Like, I haven't demonstrated my ability to put together a great show tank. Like, nobody's seen a show tank of mine in 20 years. It's been that long. We're going to change that soon, and we're going to see if I'm trash or not, right? But yeah, Rico, he shows his receipts. It's good. And that goes for everybody. Like any strongly opinionated person, even people that I disagree with. Like, I don't like it's not the Triton method. What am I thinking of? There's like this ultra low nutrient thing that killed all my stuff. But I'm not crazy about that. But there are other people, including that company, that has shown their work that it can do well and it can look amazing. Okay, cool. We disagree, right? Did not work for me. Doesn't work for everybody. But at least, they come with it. Are you up for Game of Thrones coming back? I'm watching out of obligation. I think that there's been a major drop-off since about season 4. I think the last season was trash. But I'll watch Game of Thrones. I'll finish it out. I'll cross the finish line. All my SPS are wild collected. The colors are not even close to yours. It makes a big difference to have it in your aquarium for a long time. And we've had ours for a long time. My neighbors mow my lawn. That'd be nice. Keep your grass 2 inches higher than theirs. I do. So I don't like both of my neighbors. I like one guy. I really hate the other one. And the one that I really don't like is a total Nazi about her lawn. And so, like, yeah, I don't mind keeping my grass garbage looking. A little bit of contrast there. Andrew W. Hi, first time here. Which of your corals are good for beginners? Most corals are actually okay for beginners. I kind of went into this spiel earlier in the show, but there's not a lot of care differences between 90% of the corals. So you're not going to be doing different stuff for something that's like easy versus medium, let's say. But really the only corals that I would avoid are non-photosynthetic corals and acropora specifically. If you avoid those two, everything else, 99% of everything else, is going to be relatively close in care. You should upload your T5 comparison video from Advanced Reef Aquarium. 2 gems that aren't getting enough love. I think I'm gonna redo that whole T5 comparison video. I think just remake the whole thing, because I mean I've got like a better camera since then. Blah blah blah. Hey Than, can you grow coralline algae in very low lights? Thanks, Paul from England. So Paul Holden, yes, you can grow coralline algae in very, very low light. It's much more challenging to grow, like especially the purples and pinks in high light. Coralline algae is very sensitive to light, and you can kill that stuff in like 20 minutes if you wanted to with high light. So with the low light stuff, I noticed that a lot of that stuff grows on the underside of rocks and stuff like that. So if you just had an overall low light, sure, you can make that work. Than, did you see that Reef Connect's Reef bot is finally being sold in the US? I ordered mine this week. I'm not even sure what that is. Oh, people were guessing Zeovit, Aquaforest. I think it was, I meant Aquaforest. That totally didn't work for me. Westworld is a new Game of Thrones. I didn't make it all the way through season 2 of Westworld. I thought Westworld season 1 was some of the best TV I've ever seen. The absolute best TV I've ever seen was season 1 of True Detective. That's my thing. Ironworks Aquatic. Hey, hello, welcome. Yosef. Hey, I have diatoms in my saltwater aquarium with fish in it. Is it bad for corals and fish? I don't know if it's necessarily bad for them, but I think that like an ongoing diatom problem, I think is indicative of a larger problem in general that you might want to be taking a look at. Is there a problem with your shopping cart? All the items are not showing up. Okay, so what might be the problem that's... Okay, so I don't really know exactly what your problem is, but what might be happening is that if you were shopping or just putting stuff into your shopping cart, that doesn't make that stuff yours. You have to finish the checkout process. So what might be happening is other people are purchasing the stuff that you're trying to purchase, and they got through the checkout before you did. So that is one thing that about the live show. So it's okay to place multiple orders just to make sure you get stuff. Yeah, definitely check out like the there's a link that says like, you know, how does like the live show work or something like that. And also it's kind of spelled out in every single item that it's like, it says, you know, like check out to actually secure the coral, especially during the live show. Cause I think that, like while the live show is going on, there's a lot more competition for it. Now, if you were watching like a read broadcast a day later, it's not so bad because there's not a ton of activity still going on. But during the live show, if there's stuff that you're after, sometimes you have to pull the trigger really quick. Because I was talking to one customer that had come and picked up their order, and they were saying that like, because I did this color temperature change, they were waiting until the end just because they like to see that color temperature change to go from like daylight to blue. And by the time it hit the blue color, it was already gone, the coral that they wanted. So you have to check out frequently. Excuse me. So I see some stuff talking about like quarantining of fish and stuff like that. So I come from like a different mindset than most people in the hobby because I purchase stuff wholesale. And wholesale has a completely different issue than the retail shopper. Because like when you buy fish wholesale, they might come in looking fantastic, eating the second that they leave the bag, that sort of thing, okay? And within 24 hours, they'll be dead, just dead. And that's not because of like weird illness or something. It's just like the handling of the fish is way rougher at the wholesale level versus retail. Hopefully you're buying retail at a place that has taken the time to, you know, bring the fish in, make sure that it survives at least for the first month, is eating and everything like that. And, you know, with treatments and all that fun stuff. Because that now is a much different product than what I'm getting, which is like pretty much fresh off the boat, so to speak. So like my worries aren't necessarily like disease focused. It's like you bring something in and it's just boom, dead. And it's like it just got shot like instantly, like heart attack, dead. Like, whoa. So, but I think that if I was a hobbyist, what I would be worried about as far as like why you would want to quarantine and everything like that is to protect your existing fish. more so than the new fish coming in. But every single time that you add a new fish, you're putting all your existing fish at risk. So in that sense, it's I think it's good to to take whatever precautions you can, even if like that new fish might struggle initially. But it's, I mean, like especially in larger tanks, which might have like 100 fish in it, that 101st one might make your tank have 0 fish in it. That's like a big risk, right? So yeah, it kind of just depends on where your mind is for a lot of that type of thing when it comes to fish. But like I said, I really do want to bring in like actual fish experts because I clearly don't do it that well. And these people do this at the wholesale level and have a lot of insights on it. Season 1 was really a gem. I didn't even make it halfway into season 2 though. I'm excited about GOT finale. I'm trying to keep an open mind about Game of Thrones, but I do feel like I'm watching out of obligation. Like I've watched 7 seasons of this, and I'm not gonna watch the 8th. I'm probably gonna watch the 8th. You're doing this while Reefapalooza Orlando is occurring. Yep. So there's going to be a day really soon where there are going to be multiple big shows every single weekend forever. And flip a coin because I'm going to do at least 2 shows a month. I'm going to be over top of somebody unless I'm actually physically there at one of these shows. And we know that there's almost no chance of that happening. I go to about 1 or 2 shows a year. Paul Holden, not seen your show for a while. The color temp thing is genius. Oh, thank you. Glad you like it. Yeah, I was pretty excited when I figured out how to do that. That wasn't a straightforward thing to learn how to do. So like I try to improve the live show little bit after a little bit after a little bit, trying to, so well, first of all, I didn't used to just have the thing running in the background. I used to have to communicate with the camera person to move to the next coral, right? That got kind of old. Now it's way nicer. I get to do this just in, the piece of my own studio here. I'm not actually in the greenhouse. All this stuff is shot in advance. I just hit play and I pump my fist like I'm a DJ. It's really easy. But then I'm now able to incorporate, the camera move so that you're actually seeing the coral from different angles. I'm able to have all of the overlays already done, so I don't have to like manually do the overlays live. That's made it easier for me to then focus on just having this conversation with you guys. And then now I can put up little overlay type stuff and have like the timer so you guys know like how much longer we're going to be spending on a particular coral. And the latest thing is that color temperature shift, which I have to say I'm pretty proud of that little effect. I think it adds quite a lot to the show. So I don't know. I think that the more I do these shows, like I'll come up with some additional, cool little things that we can do. But I'm really happy with the presentation so far. I think that we can do a little bit more and a little bit better in the future, though. The throne is interesting enough. Didn't need to include the living dead. I agree. I think that the show was the strongest when it was all about political intrigue and with brutal consequences. That's kind of what I liked. Like strategic missteps had terrible consequences. So like Red Wedding, for example. Like these these little screw ups along the way, where you have like Robb Stark never losing a battle, still lost. Whereas now it's like Jon Snow can't die. Yeah, I can tell pretty much when George R. R. Martin stopped writing and it became up to the show writers to come up with the rest of it. It's like, oh, right, none of this makes sense anymore. Dave, but we missed your crew helping out like they used to. Hopefully, what we can do in future shows is to have like a diverse variety of guests come on and say hello. Like that's kind of like what I'm hoping to do. Like, be a little bit more podcasty, so to speak. But I don't have that many friends, so we'll see. We'll see if we can actually do that, right? Yusef has two clownfish that are fighting. Clownfish are really mean. They're not my favorite animal, man. They're not. So there's not a whole lot you can do. Hopefully they'll get over it. You can't really separate them much. I mean, clownfish are mean. Mean animals. And they've gotten more mean as they've been more captive bred. Adam says, you finally got my wife interested in your stream by talking about Game of Thrones, Dan. Yeah, I just wish it was better. You know, that's my problem. I don't want to be like the book guy versus the show guy thing, okay? Because honestly, that show was great for 4 seasons. Not like pretty good, not, oh, I like it. No, it was great for 4 seasons. And they just kind of, so I was about to say they ran out of material, but that's not true. They didn't run out of material. They made the choice to speed through the material because I have to think that they got show fatigue just doing the work, and they're like, let's wrap this up, and we want to work on different things. We've spent a decade on this project. We need to move on as professionals, right? I get that. So they didn't necessarily run out of material so much as they kind of discarded a lot of good material, and then they ran out after that because they literally could have spent additional seasons on cool stuff that's happening in the book. And they kind of had to truncate a lot of character development. They had to truncate characters. So like Euron Greyjoy, I'm sorry for the people that don't watch the show or don't read the books, like Euron Greyjoy in the books is absolutely bone-chillingly terrifying as a character. Like, you don't know what his motivations are. He's basically like the Joker, except way more dark and way more violent. And that character is completely lost in the show. Like, the show, he's just kind of like this guy, I guess. But he's not the guy in the books. Like, the guy in the books is like, you freak me out a lot. And a lot of characters are like that in the books, and they couldn't flesh it out. They couldn't flesh it out. Also, like the stuff that they did with Dorne, that was like a total joke because they just couldn't spend the time to develop any of that. So, for example, like Doran Martell, the guy that's in the wheelchair that gets killed by all those women. In the book, he's supposed to be like the equal to like Tywin Lannister. All of that just isn't included. So, yeah, again, I've already been disappointed for 3 years now, but I will watch this 8th season out of sheer obligation and just wait till the next book comes up. Is Matt from Jayo Nation coming to the barbecue? I wish he was. I don't think he is. I don't think he is. We're your friends, don't we count? Of course you guys do. Of course you guys do. But to be actually live on one of my live shows, I think we need to have more trust than that, right? Krieger's Reef. Hey, Than. Hey, how's it going? Welcome. Haters, best show on television. Wrong. What is the best show on TV right now? That's a good question, guys. In the comments, tell me what am I missing out on? What is the best show on TV? I can't think of anything right now. Yeah. So Mom brings up a good point. So the live show itself, if you guys are looking to purchase corals, and I almost never actually say this because I forget to say it, but the live show, we continue just allowing people to purchase a few days after the thing goes live. So right around like Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning is when we take down the live show. So if you're catching this on the rebroadcast on either Sunday or Monday, still plenty of time to shop. So I'm gonna throw that out there. Euron is a completely different character altogether in the movie than in the books. True. Books are always better. Are the books always better? Most of the time I would agree with that. In Game of Thrones, yeah, very clearly true. When has a movie ever been better than the book? There has been. I would say that Apocalypse Now, to please, is better than Heart of Darkness as a book. So there was actually this list that I saw where there were like, what is the biggest disparity between the book's Goodreads score and the IMDb rating for the movie of that book? So for example, best book, worst movie was Vampire Academy, written by my friend, and we lived together in the same house. Her name is Rochelle Mead. So it's like young adult vampire fiction. Best book, worst movie adaptation, right? So she wins the Distinguished Award for that. Good job, Rochelle. I'm sure she'll get over it with her 16 New York Times bestsellers. She'll be all right. Makes one crummy movie. And now I'm not going to get a Christmas card. And let's see. Then you get to the other end of the spectrum of like worst book, best movie. And I think now you're talking about like Apocalypse Now versus Heart of Darkness. And there's like a few others on that list. So they do exist. It's uncommon because you get to explore a lot more in a book, obviously, than you do in a 2-hour movie, hour and a half movie in some cases. But yeah, it was an interesting thing to see. Did anybody even have any suggestions on a good series going on right now? K-Town says, I don't watch TV, so I'll be no help. Yeah. Some people keep on saying Umbrella Academy. I haven't seen it. Red versus Blue, Netflix Rooster Teeth website. I have seen that. Best show on TV, Magicians. Have not seen that. Curtis Parker, are you a Dune fan by any chance? Good question. I am all in on Dune. I've completely sold out on this upcoming Dune movie, even though I think that like Dune might be the most impossible thing to adapt into a film. I want people to try forever until they get it right. And this one is the best shot of any I've ever seen up to this point, with the possible exception of Jodorowsky's Dune that never actually happened. No, I love Dune. I think Dune is a seminal work in science fiction, and I mean I put it right up there with Foundation, and yeah, all in on Dune. No Country for Old Men movie was better. Okay, all right, I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, Anton Chigurh, played by Javier Bardem, was a great bad guy. Javier Bardem also going to be in the new Dune movie. Hope the prequel is good. Rhaegar should be a great character for the show. I hope so. We'll see. My wife says Outlander is great. Okay. I have not seen that. That's kind of like the kung fu movie style thing. True Grit was way better as a Coen movie. True Grit, that's a decent choice as well. Yeah. Umbrella Academy is good, but only one season. Okay. Danny's boobs are better on TV than in the books for sure because she's like 12. Peaky Blinders, haven't seen all of it. I heard Peaky Blinders is good. Handmaid's Tale, if you're into dark. I read the book. Speaking of, that might be a wash, right? The show versus the book. Book is obviously a classic. Yeah. Last Kingdom. Is that a zombie movie? Is that a zombie kung fu movie? Yeah, but guys, it's got to be about Dune, right? I mean, Dune is the only movie that I can think of that like, oh, we're gonna get this A-list actor that's like, playing an Aquaman and stuff. He might not be the best actor, but he is an A-list actor, and you're gonna give him like a tiny minor role in the first book. I know Duncan Idaho is a major character, but in Dune, come on now, he dies in about like 5 minutes. Black Mirror is wonderful. I love it. I love Black Mirror. I'm all about Black Mirror. What Dune movie are you referring to? Big Dune fan, gave up on the adaptations a while ago. There hasn't been a great adaptation of it. So I would say that the best adaptation to never happen was Jodorowsky's Dune. And then it's the David Lynch version from the 80s. And then there's the Sci-Fi Channel one that was much more in line with the source material, but low budget and cheesy. So there really wasn't a great adaptation, but this new movie is being directed by my personal favorite working director today. That is, what's his name? Oh my God. I'll be mad if Chat gets it before me. Oh, I'm so mad. He did Sicario. He did Arrival. Denis Villeneuve. He is my favorite director working, and I think that he can do that series a whole lot of justice. And the casting for it, with the exception of Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho, I think is like spot on. A-list actors all around. They're it's going to be so good. I expect it to be so good. And they're splitting it up into the first book into 2 movies, and there's a perfect split in the book already to make it 2 movies because there's like a gap of like 5 years where it just have perfect. It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good too, please. Oh my God, thank you for the $1.99. But Dune is gonna be so good. Like of course, like I would say, let's just tone down the anticipation, just in case it's not good. No, I'm all in. I'm going in on Dune. It's so good. Stranger Things, it's okay. The nostalgia thing, like I think Stranger Things, the first season was a lot better than the second season. The Crown on Netflix, have not seen it. And Curtis Parker did get Denis Villeneuve, yeah. What other movies did he do that were awesome? He did A Prisoner, An Enemy. He did a bunch of good movies. But Sicario, so good. So sad here in Sweden we got no legit coral shops, and the one that we have looks so dead. Yeah, that's a bummer. I mean, I think a lot of places, especially that I hear in the EU, it's either like feast or famine. Either it's going to be like the best shop ever, or it's going to be not so great. Altered Carbon, not bad. I haven't seen anything for season 2 of Altered Carbon, but I didn't mind the first one. Yeah, he did Prisoners. Yeah. I'm going to quickly like pull up a little filmography of Denis Villeneuve. Oh, he did Blade Runner. Yeah. I love Blade Runner. And so people are worried like, well, what if Dune is not a box office success because Blade Runner 2048 or whatever wasn't a box office blockbuster like they had hoped. Like, I don't care. I would rather Dune be an absolute work of art rather than be like a box office success. Because like, let's be real. I didn't see Captain Marvel. I'm gonna guess in 12 months, nobody that saw Captain Marvel will remember anything about that movie, and that movie made $1 billion. Like, I want a good movie out there that people will talk about forever. So he did Blade Runner, Arrival, Sicario, Prisoners, and Enemy. And other movies that you probably didn't see. But yeah, if you're gonna watch anything, I would say watch Blade Runner, watch Arrival, watch Sicario. And if you wanted to get a little weird out there, Enemy is really good. And if you want to be like really disturbed, go ahead and watch Prisoners. He did Enemy and Prisoners in the same year. Crazy. Mindhunter on Netflix. Good call. Yeah. Good call. Already had American Gods from Stars. I watched the first season. I couldn't get into the second season. I read the book though. So, I mean, do I need to watch it? Yeah, Enemy is so good. But not a lot of people have seen Enemy, but it's out there. Dude, I'm telling you, like, as an auteur film director, that dude is my favorite guy. Villeneuve can direct his butt off. Than, have you seen the Netflix DC shows? Those are on Marvel, dude. Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. So I've seen Luke Cage, I've seen Jessica Jones. I saw Iron Fist, which is like so over the top racist garbage. I mean, I get it. Like, Iron Fist is terrible. Like, it is hilariously terrible. Daredevil's good. Punisher was good in Daredevil season 2. The Punisher standalone series. I didn't like season 1. I didn't watch season 2. I saw Captain Marvel, hated it, so went to the nice theater over and watched Alita. At least Alita had an aesthetic, albeit with really big. So okay, I love Alita Battle Angel, the manga, and I love the anime version. From what I understand, it was a passion project of like Steven Spielberg, and I think that they got the aesthetic right, but they might have gotten the tone wrong because there were some pretty dark themes going on in Alita that they probably didn't fully explore. I didn't see the movie, so I can't tell for sure, but I have a feeling that that's the direction that movie took. I'm guessing Mindhunter reference there too, please. Yeah, I love. Yeah, Mindhunter was very good. Really, really good. Yep. So about 10 minutes away is where Jeffrey Dahmer grew up from me. It's like I live close to Jeffrey Dahmer and LeBron. And HBO is doing a 2-hour Deadwood movie. That's true, Mike Howard. Yes. So I haven't mentioned this on stream or in any of my videos, but I was in Deadwood 2 years ago. We went and visited some family friends out in South Dakota, and we went to a bunch of different national parks around there. Saw Mount Rushmore, which was very impressive, and then I saw Crazy Horse, which is about 1 million times more impressive than Mount Rushmore. So yeah, the West kind of blew me away there. Just going around South Dakota, yeah. And then seeing Deadwood is an entire totally ridiculous tourist trap. But it was cool to see, like, what used to be all these different buildings from way back then and stuff. But total tourist trap now. But guys, if you ever want to get your mind blown, look up the Crazy Horse Monument. It's like some pillars of the earth type crazy project. Basically, this stone carver guy won some award in Europe, and he was approached by this Native American Indian chief that wanted to do this very ambitious, like kind of like a Mount Rushmore type thing for his people, and to commemorate Crazy Horse. Except it's like 100 times bigger than the Washington, or like than Mount Rushmore. And all of this is, I mean, basically, some Indian chief asked this guy, "Can you build me a pyramid out of that mountain that's over there?" And the guy said, "Sure, I'll do it." And so he and his family just basically went up there and just like started blasting away rock and slowly started carving the mountain into this giant sculpture of Crazy Horse, and on horseback. And it is ridiculously impressive. Like, it's not done yet. It might not be done for 100 years. Like, generations of his family have to do it. They took $0 of federal funding. They fully self-financed it, and it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Dead serious, like that of human creation. It's the story behind it and of what they've actually done. I mean, you can fit like a building in the eyeball of this sculpture of Crazy Horse on the mountain. It's so big, and it's one of those things that like my friends that are like big into travel to national parks and stuff, they don't know anything about this. So when I brought it up and I showed them pictures, they're like, "Geez." Yeah. So Google that when you have a second. It's very impressive, like I said. Yeah. Diacanthus, Crazy Horse Monument is ridiculously massive. Seen it 3 times so far. It dwarfs everything. Like, you can see it plain as day a mile away. It's like that's a mountain that they're turning into a sculpture of a man on a horse. Unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to see it when it's finished. Exactly. And they're actively working on it? Yes, they're actively working on it. I mean, like I said, it's going to take 100 years. But like all the stories around it. So when I see Crazy Horse and I think back on it, it makes me think, it puts into perspective like my accomplishments in life, right? Where you think that you've gotten somewhere by doing impressive stuff. Then you see something truly impressive, and you're like, geez. I mean, this guy was asked to build the impossible, and he just says, "Sure, I'll do it." And then he goes and does it. That's so gangster, So crazy. Yeah, like I said, it makes me definitely like reevaluate like what's going on in my life. How long ago did they start it? Let me see. I'll look it up for you. It was started in 1948. Like, the fact that they already have like the face done on it, and they've like started to do the arm, and they're now starting into like the horse's head and stuff. Crazy. Crazy town. Like, who even agrees to do that? It's like, I would be like, that's impossible. Like, that is like what you're asking is impossible. Yeah, like just the head is Mount Rushmore sized. Crazy. Yeah, 1948. And like, guys, there's no federal funding. Like, I mean, obviously, it's probably like some very bitter Native American tribe. They didn't want to take any, you know, like white man's money sort of thing. I get that. But then what private project does this? I mean, Amazon can't do this, right? Like, who does this? Yeah, I mean, it's like if you're familiar with Pillars of the Earth, it's like, you know, the building of this cathedral over like multiple generations. It's like like the person that starts the cathedral will never see it finished, sort of thing. Yeah, mind-boggling. Mel DM, what is Stan talking about? I'm talking about the Crazy Horse Memorial. Go ahead and Google that, Mel DM. It's like I said, it's the most impressive thing, and you have to kind of get into the story behind it. But yeah, somebody just asked one person, "Can you build this for us?" And he said, "Yeah, I can do it." Insane. All right, I think I need to grab some dinner. Oh, that was my next question. How is it funded? It is literally like they fund it off of like their restaurant and an entrance fee and like, yeah, it's all like basically privately funded. Crazy. Yeah, Michelangelo level stuff. But it's the entire damn mountain. It's not like a cathedral. It's like it's the whole mountain. And the guy was like sleeping up there alone with the wolves and stuff like that for a decade. Like there's no infrastructure. It was just a mountain off in the distance. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna turn this into a man on a horse. Yeah. Inspired. So okay. Yeah. Time for food. So thank you so much for joining in. Hope you all had a good time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Tidal Gardens Barbecue, July 27th, tidalgardensbbq.eventbrite.com. Check your notifications, make sure you're actually seeing my new videos when I put them up. And I will put a little spoiler out there. When I was down in Texas, someone invited me to see their 1,000-gallon SPS reef. So while everybody was at the strip clubs, I was working for you guys. So I will show his tank off. It's going to be pretty amazing. Special thanks to the Patreon crowd. Let's go. Ernest Wallace Jr., Mark Nadier, The Classroom Reef, Chuck Admire, Gene A. Van Voorst, Flashkin, Two Please, Rico's Aquariums, Haters and All, Christopher Curry, Alan Jackson, Trevor Joseph Overbeck, Kevin Cortez, Steve Pont, Ryan Kern, Nate Bowler, and Dave Davis, who is still in chat along with Two Please, from what I understand. Awesome. Too bad he won't be around to see it finish. I think he's dead already. All right, guys. Take care. Hopefully enjoy the live show. It'll be up and still available right around Tuesday. All right, guys. See you later. Have a good dinner or breakfast wherever you are in the world, right?